Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tiger Talk Tuesday. This is episode 49 of Transitioning to Life After Sports, and we have quite the guest from you. I would say close your doors if there's any kids around, because I can only imagine the content of the conversation with the amazing Kimberly Skermer. Did I pronounce it right?
You got it. You got it.
Okay. For those of you who are new to this series, this started as a mission and vision to help support those athletes that are suffering in silence around the globe. Transitioning from any type of role you play in life comes with its own challenges, but this one is focused on sports. Now, Kimberly spent 13 years as a paddler in dragon boat racing, but I mean, her resume into her professional career is extensive. Her approach to coaching incorporates a unique athletic and senior leadership perspective, drawing on over 2 decades of experience, which has taken her to world stages. Her methods have been tried and tested, proving effective for the individuals she champions. With a background in mentoring, training small business teams, facilitating seminars, and accumulating over 26,000 professional coaching hours, insane, Kim has become an expert in guiding ambitious individuals to reach their peak performance, something I cannot wait to dive into. Kim encourages her clients to find the I and find the calm. I've heard her speak on this and I loved it. Just like an athlete searching for their inner strength and focus, individuals are urged to look inward and discover their true selves and determine their genuine desires. Kim believes that by diving into the eye of the storm, I as in the letter I, individuals can find the calm that will prepare them beyond the plateaus experienced by every high achiever. I'm having a massive hot flash right now, guys. Menopause, just being real.
We're both going to be, I was like, where's my fan?
I know. I was just thinking, where's my fan?
Yeah.
Kim's coaching philosophy challenges the conventional notion of success, urging clients to stop conforming to a single path and instead carve out their own journey. Love that because it's something I'm very passionate about as well. Tuning out external noise and opinions, individuals are encouraged to find direction from within, unlocking their true potential. Her core principles of coaching are encapsulated in the mantra create in wonderment, align with structure, lead with wisdom, and master your authority. These principles form the foundation of all pillars within RST Private Planning Group, reflecting Kim's holistic and athletic approach to coaching for sustained success. Woo, impressive.
I like
Love
that.
it. Let's just dive right in. Let's go back to your 13 years as a paddler. How did you get into it? How did it build your character, your who Kim is as a person, and let's just go on from there.
Go there. So there's
Well, I'm
how
having
long
my
do we
hot
have?
flash over
Yeah,
here.
right, right. So I was always the fit fat person, and that's a really weird thing to say. And we can be really blunt because athletes are. We just rip the band-aid off and we say it like it is, right? So I was a really, really good baseball player. I was a really good volleyball player, as captain of the team, all that. But I was the bigger girl, 5'10", Eastern European. I'm a big girl. And then I remember in my 20s, went off to college all on my own, was a travel agent, tour guide, and a chef. I actually used to coach or cook for the Edmonton Oilers, by the way. That's another
Ooh,
fun side story. But I was big. I became a bigger girl. So I'm over 200 pounds. I get up to about 260 and I want to lose weight and I need to lose weight. And I'm sitting there one night at the bar with my girlfriends, and my girlfriends were goddesses, absolute goddesses. And I was the one that sat in the bar
as are
waiting for them.
you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, it's funny how you don't see yourself
I
until
know.
you're on, right? So I'm sitting at the bar, this really good looking guy's talking to me, and we're having this chat. My girlfriends are dancing, and I'm the DD. And as a couple hours go by, and he is like the hockey guy, right? The chiseled jaw, like the everything, the hockey hair back
Yeah.
then, mullets were cool. And he's
Mullets
sitting
are
there.
back in.
I know what's
My
old is
little guy
new.
just came home and I was like, what did you do to your hair? Whatever. Let him do it.
Yep. And so he goes, I feel like I really know you, and I want to ask you this question. It's really blunt. And I said, okay, what is it? He goes, you are so beautiful.
Hmm.
Why would you actually have such a fat body attached to that beautiful face?
How does he know this perspective? I guess you guys have been communicating
Yeah,
or
we
talking
no,
for
we were
this.
just
Okay.
talking at the bar for a couple
Okay.
hours, right? Talking, joking
He
around,
just
and all
walks
this.
up and says
Yeah,
that.
just like, hey, I
That's a
got a
different
question.
pickup line.
Totally, well, got some good ones.
I know.
And,
Interesting.
wow, I could have done something really bad. This probably wouldn't hit air, or YouTube would take it down. But so I kind of looked at him. I'm going, I'm either going to punch you in the face, right? Or what do I do? And I was so shocked.
Mhm.
So I just waved to my girlfriends. I said, good night, bye. And I walked and I went home and I got into my apartment and I saw bags of A&W. I saw bags of
Mm.
Wendy's. I saw Tim Hortons, like all the stuff. And I'm going, as mean as it was, he was right. Why should I let such a beautiful face have such an unhealthy body attached to it? And so there's all those things that are attached and go to that part. So I needed to learn and find a sport that was easy on my body.
Mm.
And in Edmonton, dragon boating just started. So it was this weird sport of 20 people in a boat canoeing down the North Saskatchewan River, right? And I jumped in the boat, I learned how to paddle, and I was in love ever
I love.
since. In love. Yeah.
You must be calm when you sit in a bathtub or when you're just around water. It's
Oh,
probably like your savings, your safety net, eh?
water's my church. It is
Mm.
absolutely water's my church. It
You hear
is.
that with all the athletes that I speak to about whether you're a hockey player, I've seen there's a really amazing story with my friend Brady Leavold, well, friend acquaintance. We came on here, we've been chatting since, but
Yeah.
and he just had a story come out in Hockey Night in Canada about leaving hockey, becoming got into drugs and some bad stuff, but he was
Mhm.
like the ODR saved me. So it's funny, and if anyone is watching this actually that does play sports or has been missing that part of you, even if you physically can't do it anymore, but returning to that place that gave you so much calm
Mm,
can be so soothing, right?
yeah.
Talk to us about, okay, so 13 years as a paddler, you have this story in your head of being the bigger athlete, whatnot. How does that transcend later in life for you? What are your experiences and leading us into who you are today?
Mm. I've always loved, and it's even that tagline I have, find the eye, find the calm, right?
Mm.
When someone hears calm, they think of the weird woo-saw, whatever, a bunch of women dancing around a cauldron in the moonlight.
I actually
Right?
felt when you said it, I felt my shoulders drop. I felt
Yeah.
I took kind of a little bit of a deeper breath.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that woo-woo feeling, but I guess
Oh,
because I'm like woo.
thank you. Thank you. But it's that part that actually athletes get.
Mm.
Because find the calm is flow state of mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're an athlete, you always achieve and you drive towards flow state. And it's that moment when you're playing your sport and the world completely slows down.
Mm.
You can
Yes.
see every play. You can hear, well, in hockey, right? You can hear the skates cutting the ice.
Yeah.
You can hear the stick to the puck. You can hear the ting in the back of the net, right?
Yep.
Like it's just this
It's
incredible.
visceral.
Oh, it honestly is. Right. And that's that part that we long for so much. And so with my sport with water, I'd be the one, we'd go over to our races and our competitions, and it was always on the weekends. And I would be up. I get up at 4:30, 3:30 in the morning. That's just, it's in
Me
me.
too. Yeah.
I'd go to the water, I'd grab a coffee, I'd stick my foot in the water, and I'd sit there and I would listen. And it was always the same big announcer. Her name was Kim, too. I'd listen to Kim's voice. I would picture and listen and visualize. I'd hear the seagulls. I'd hear the blades on the water. I'd hear the boats rocking back and forth, the waves. I could hear, because you're in a dragon boat with 22 people, and so
Yeah.
you're like sardines in there. I'd hear my bench partners. I hear them breathing. I'd hear them doing their thing. And that's that part of you are so calm in that moment. And it's like this matrix moment that you have
Mm-hmm.
where this storm of everything just slows down and you can strategically see your path and your part to your
Yeah.
defined success,
I
right?
love it. You just have jumped from like and if anyone's going through any struggle or anything, I mean, I think people misunderstand how quickly they can drop in and how quickly
Oh,
they can redirect their ship and all the sayings that are out there. But literally, as you're describing that, I could feel that, right? And we in such a noisy world, if people just took a second to slow down. And what was that like for you? Like obviously you have that awareness now and you can paint that picture, but take us on your journey. So you paddle for 13 years. What was next for you? Or
the
what was
journey
next?
was,
What was life after sports for you? Like why did you stop?
it was crazy. My mom's American, my dad was Canadian, and I was even born into the all-American dream sports family, right? My mom was a head cheerleader, my dad was a captain of basketball, right? They married, had kids, we were all big giants in athletics and all of those things. And it was so funny where I had this self-deprivating part of me, not pretty enough, not skinny enough, not fast enough, whatever, not smart enough. And I had a really rough upbringing. I had a hard upbringing, right? Parents divorced, had to take over, started working at 11 years old, like all of these things.
Mhm.
And it was always, I always just, I led with my masculine, I guess. Is that right? Because
Oh, hello.
right. It's that part, and that's
Yeah.
athletic women, right?
I totally muscled my way through life until breast cancer. A
Yeah.
thousand
Yeah.
percent.
Yeah. Like you don't know any other way because
Mhm.
there's never been any other choice,
But you find your superpower and you run with it, right? It works. This
right?
is where I
You
get
totally
external
do.
validation. I'm going to
Yeah.
keep doing that. And it's like
Yeah.
catnip. It's like,
Yeah.
give me
Yeah.
another hit of that external validation and I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
validated.
Yeah. Crying's for the weak. Depression is a luxury, right?
Yeah.
It's so interesting how your mind goes through all these things, and all of these things are so necessary. So I lived in Edmonton, Alberta. I would go train in Vancouver, Granville Island. I'd go down to Hawaii and train in the waters of Hawaii with outrigger, surfing 6 foot, 4 foot waves. Like I had this incredible life. And then broke up with my fiance who treated me like crap. He was the 11 o'clock weather guy and he thought he was incredible. And
Stay
my mom,
classy, said
right,
Jacob.
right. No, I'm not going to hold your hand down the street. Why not? Right. My mom got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer,
Hmm.
and she was and still is a rock and a pivotal person. And I went and I was big corporate job, massive corporate job, working for one of the biggest carriers in Canada, in the world, actually. And I took a break and I called them and I just said, my mom's terminal. She has 3 months. And I got in trouble because of my big mouth. I was in trouble already with work, and I was high performing, 168% above plan, as athletes usually are.
Hmm.
But we don't listen to anyone else because we had to muscle through everything.
We do what we want, how we want
Right,
it.
right. Like I'll nod and smile. Yep, you sure you want me to do? And then I'm going to turn around and do whatever the heck I want to do because my name is Kimberly Schemer, not Kimberly Skermer, right? So I would always figure out a way. And my mom passed away, left the fiance, sitting there, Team Canada, coaching 7 teams, teaching blind people how to paddle, like all of these things, right? Bringing
Mhm.
Indigenous kids in. And I sat there and I'm going, can you just for once take care of yourself?
Mm.
Can you just go run away?
How old would you have been here?
Oh, 38, about 38, something like that. Right. And that was that point of I ran away. I gave
Mm.
up all my friends, and you've been on a team, right? So my crew was 28 people, and they're your closest, like you go to war together, right?
Mhm.
You go to war together. You're taping sores on your butts from the benches ripping your ass open, like all of those things. And I had to give up this life and just run away.
Mm.
And so took on a job, took a job here in Toronto. And I just packed up my boat, threw it on top of my truck, paddled across the US, all that kind of thing. And I just ran. And I just ran. And so when I made it to Toronto, went in and started doing this whole coaching and development. I work in financial services a lot. Anyone that gives advice for a living, that's who I coach. And I started a coaching development program corporately, all those things. And it's so funny, again, these patterns, if we stop and we look, we all have patterns because that's how our human brain works. And I would have this, struggle, 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 push, push, push. Look at me. I'm awesome. Listen to me. I'm smarter than you, right? Hold my beer. Epic fail, right? Smart, push, 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 right? And it was not until that moment until
Would
it
you
happened.
say epic fail or like 2 steps forward, 5 steps back? Like, because as you're growing or would it really be like, did you define it as a fail or because when you're evolving, I find as a overachiever, that extreme personality doesn't suit me anymore. I catch myself trying to
Yeah,
be extreme because
yeah,
that's how I attacked life,
yeah,
but I don't have it in me to do that anymore. It's like, hold up. Like I'll have a conversation at the gym and it's like, I'm gonna not eat for 2 days and I'm not gonna do this and da, 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 and
yeah,
then I get home and I'm like, no,
yeah.
I'm not doing that.
No,
Like I just
no.
before though, if I did made that decision, like I'd be 6 weeks like completely on and then just take the wheels all off.
It is that part of, and it's a good thing that you identified that because that is so stereotypical of us, right?
Especially that masculine energy. Yeah.
Yeah, everything
Do,
is
do, do.
extreme. Yeah, everything's extreme. And sometimes people will be going to you, whoa, 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 whoa. And you're like, what do you mean, whoa, whoa, whoa? This is natural, right?
Mm,
I'm not weak.
yeah.
It's so interesting, right? And we derive our power from
Actually, and I
whatever.
love, can you stop there for a second? I love that you said that. So anyone watching, you might not be saying to yourself, I'm not weak, but that's what your subconscious is saying in your actions and in your delivery. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree with
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Totally agree with
Just from
that.
an understanding point, because
Yeah.
sometimes people are like, I'm not that. And you just have blinders on. You can't see that the way you show up is in alignment with those limiting beliefs, right?
Yeah. I have a saying of sometimes the art fails to see the frame they're in.
I
And
love that.
it is that, and I was having a chat with my hubby last night, and it was that part of, I wish you could just see yourself how I see you,
Yeah.
right?
Isn't that always the way with our
And
friends and family?
it so is the way, even, the younger Kim and all that kind of stuff. Like 5'10", 185 pounds with barely any body fat. I had the most amazing theme music when I walked into the room, and I never saw that at the time,
hmm I hear
right?
that.
Like, how
That
sad
resonates
is
with
that,
me.
right?
And
How sad is
but did you find though, even though we felt this way, because I can relate to some of those feelings, we feel this way on the inside, but externally no one would know because I was
that?
the happy go. I developed that persona of I was the really fun one. I kind of cringe
Mhm.
when I look back at some things that I've either said or how loud I've been, but whatever, it is what it is. We grow
And
and
thank
learn.
God we didn't have save our cell phones back.
I just like, thank God there's not social media when I was
Yeah.
younger.
Yeah.
Geez. But even though you can have a sunny disposition, it doesn't mean that there isn't that voice looping on the inside and you're constantly tearing yourself down.
Oh, it's proven all over the place, right?
Mhm.
The highest, most struggling people are usually the funniest and the most rambunctious, or that's taking care of everyone.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. Like it's
Yeah,
everywhere,
Robin Williams, I remember that one.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a prime example. It truly is. But that whole part of when you crash and you do hit bottom, because it is that absolute bottom. And my absolute bottom was June 30th, 2020. And that's when I got retired from senior executive leadership. So I was in a very, very high position, making well into the high six figures, very high six figures, right? Responsible for a lot of things. And I knew corporate was going to end for me. I knew that there's a change happening. Again, you're strategic. Athletes have this insight. They can see the plays. Their life is a playbook.
Yeah.
It really is, right? That's our life. And so I saw change coming, and I knew I was going to get ready for it. I didn't think it was going to happen in COVID, but it was a really funny day of everyone struggling through COVID, going through everything. And I sent a picture to the crew, to the team. So there's 60 wholesalers within the team. We're all trying to communicate on WhatsApp. And I sent this picture of me holding, or of the sign that I hold. And it says, "The world needs who you were made to be." And it's the last thing that the whole team heard from me was, "The world needs who you were made to be." And that was my choice of leaving corporate and
Mm.
actually facing all of these fears, imposter syndrome, whatever lipstick you
Was
want to
that
put.
message for them or for you?
After I look back, it was for me, right?
Yeah,
We always lead in the perspective that we're in,
of course.
right? That's what we do. So when we
The
look at
saying, like when
habits,
you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
change, right? It's exactly it. So where we lead, the conversations we have, what we see around us, that's why conversations with ourselves are important. That's why positive versus negative conversations, it honestly is, and it hits so deeply within our subconscious.
Yeah,
So just
I
pausing now
resonate with
to
that.
say, why is this happening? Why am I seeing this?
Yeah, it's funny. My big transformation was during COVID, but just a month before you at 37, 38 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mhm.
And literally as an athlete, I needed breast cancer to slow me down. Like
Oh,
I was still in that muscling phase, and that was the gift of cancer for me. I share this all the time. Was I remember walking to the mailbox,
mm,
and I've had visions of being a speaker since I was, I don't know how long. I actually remember writing in a journal in my 20s when I was flying out to Los Angeles, being like, one day the entire world will know what the Tiger method is, but I don't have enough life experience. And nothing against a positive 20-year-old, but I prefer to listen to someone like yourself or someone that has more life experience, has been through some shit and has come out on the other side,
yeah.
right? And really can dispense that wisdom and has that self-awareness. But I
Mhm.
remember walking to the mailbox and like literally looking up, and I think it was the day that I had found out, and I said, thank you. And my mom was like, I don't know. I told my mom coming back, she's like, I don't know what God you pray to, but I'm not thanking anyone for your cancer. But
Yeah.
I knew it was what I needed to crack me wide open. And it's amazing how life, if you don't make the choices yourself,
Yeah.
it'll show up for you either in your body or in an event. You'll lose your job, some way, shape, or form. So you decide to leave.
Yeah,
What?
it's that part of, they let me go. So they
Okay.
retired me. They
Okay.
retired me. Yeah,
Got it.
they retired me. And that was really funny that I sent that message out to the team saying the world needs who you were made to be. And we all search for that sign, just so you were talking about, right, too, of how we take it. And I'm going, well, everyone searches for a sign. Mine actually was a sign, right?
Yeah.
And it's that humbling moment. And it's again that bad trait of having that athletic mindset of, okay, hold my beer. And you start showing up manic, right?
Mm.
I'm gonna prove you. I know this needs to be done. There's an
Yeah,
absolute
mine was
need to
watch me.
change.
I'll show
Yeah,
you.
I'll
Yeah,
show
don't tell
you.
me I can't do
Yeah,
that.
don't
Watch
ever
me
tell me.
I can tick it off my list. Yeah,
Yeah,
challenge me. I
right?
dare you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it
Yeah.
actually is that whole part. And I just showed up doing all these things, coming across very forcefully
Mm.
instead of the real smart logic with connection, Kim.
Yeah, I love that.
Because I've coached so many incredible people. Like grassroots sports and athletics, they love me. I'm
Yeah,
good, I'm fun, I can connect the dots and all these things. I understand how bodies work, I understand how your mind works, right?
exactly.
And so when you're so upset and you haven't dealt with all those years of grief, so dad being abusive, family with no money, living in a community where you're not related to anybody and you're the weird foreign kid, the pretty girl that nobody really liked, the athletic girl, double hip replacement at 44,
Hmm.
trying to fight with a doctor saying, I can't even go down to go to the washroom. I'm stuck. I
Yeah.
hurt. And them telling you you're not hurt, go lose some weight. Right? You finally get the surgery and the doctor finally finds you and he goes, you have no ball on top of your femur. You have nothing, right? Nothing. Getting a double hip replacement, they kept me in for 2 weeks in hospital after each hip was done because it was so bad. Like that doesn't happen. I'm going through a hip replacement the same time as my 87-year-old mother-in-law, and they're letting her out in 2 days, and I'm in there for 2 weeks. Like it's that bad because I wore myself out that bad, mourning the grief of my mom. And there was just this moment between leaving corporate and opening up my own business where I absolutely crashed. Absolutely bottom of the barrel crashed. It was hard. Very
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
And what's coming up for you when you say that? I can see some emotion.
It is that part of that's my gift. So your gift was cancer. My gift was anxiety. And that sounds like such a crazy thing again to when you say it out loud. But it forced me and it scared me so much. When you're sitting there, oh, here
It's
we go.
okay. Let it out.
When you're sitting there in your living room and someone you love more than anything is right there beside you and you're kissing them and you're shaking and you're just trying to breathe and you think you're dying. Your heart is pounding, your chest is tightening, you think you have a heart attack or a stroke, and you're sitting there going, this is the last time I'm going to see you. Right?
Yeah.
And he's been beside me through the hip replacements, through everything, starting the business, the corporate life, and again, the world slows down when you're in that true authentic self moment, flow state, again, call it whatever you wish.
Yeah.
It is that part of stop pretending you're someone else.
Mm, I can relate
And
to that.
it's so big. Like it took me a year and a half to get better. And I even have an Instagram video of when I came out of the hospital out of that moment. So you go there and the doctor says, you're having an anxiety attack, a panic attack. And I was so ashamed.
Mm.
I was
Yeah,
so
you're like,
ashamed.
not me. I don't suffer from anxiety.
Shh. That's for
Yeah.
weak people, right? Right?
Yeah,
Depression,
exactly.
anxiety is a luxury, blah, blah, blah. And I sat there and I'm going, not me, I don't understand this. And he goes, Kim, this is our test that we do and the questions we ask to assess someone. You have ticked every box off plus some.
Mm,
And he goes, I know you're an overachiever. Maybe it's time to stop that. And I'm like, I checked off every box. And he goes, you are just a moment away from actually being recommended to being admitted into a facility
yeah.
to get help.
Well,
And that was a big hit. It
yeah.
was a massive hit, right? Because on top of that, I was having these crazy, and it's a long story, and I can share the podcast later on in the notes and stuff like that of talking about the whole story. But this whole part of going through that anxiety and then having those dreams of nightmares of killing myself, of suicide. night after night after night. So here I am, high anxiety, trying to prove myself. I've lost this incredible identity of this beautiful, gorgeous goddess, of this athlete, of everyone introducing me of, hey, Kim's been to the worlds, blah, 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 right? Top of the top, fast woman, blah, 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 these things. And then I'm now overweight. I've had a double hip replacement. I've had things said to me that are just so hurtful. And I was no longer the high number 4 in the company, corporate senior executive management, having that title. I no longer held the title of World Team Canada athlete or coach or whatever that may be. And I had to find myself. And I suppressed that for years and years and years. And there's so many things that I didn't deal with in grief.
Mm.
So when I was sitting there popping Ativan like Tic Tacs, when I'm sitting there having these nightmares about committing suicide and killing myself, waking up in the morning and going, I'm okay, but I'm in this pool of sweat. I'm shaking and screaming during night, my hubby says. And then the nightmares escalate to people that used to be in my life, my old Team Canada coach, my old employees, my old senior management team, executive team that I worked with, mourning me at my funeral. So I finally go and see a therapist because I strongly believe, especially when you're a high achiever, the higher of achiever you are, the more coaches and people you need around yourself.
Mm.
And so I go to my therapist and I'm talking to Lynn and I tell her the story and she kind of starts smiling and I'm like, Lynn, I love you. You better fucking start talking right away, right? And she goes,
Better explain
no.
this to me.
Yeah, explain very quickly, right? And she just said, I love this for you. This is first life, second life. And you now
Mm.
have finally in the first part of our life, we're building, we're forming our identity. We're having kids, we're having babies, we're having marriage, sports, climb the ladder, all of these things. And then there's a point that happens between 40, 45, kind of, especially with women, of where everything that you thought and pushed you to be that high achiever, that really good moral meaning behind it, now is screaming to step forward in your second part of your life.
Mm.
And it's that part in the moment of your dreams about committing suicide and your dreams about having those people mourning you, saying goodbye, that used to be in your life, is your subconscious killing off that old you.
I have chills and ow, I just hit my elbow. And sorry, if ever I look down, my phone's going off. I'm like, get it. I meant to turn the ring off. I wasn't trying to look down. I had a recent meditation where it looked like a SWAT team coming down to attack, or like a panther coming out. And my nickname's Tiger, which is funny. I've got
Yeah,
all these animals in my life. But
awesome.
it's funny because when those because I'm highly intuitive and I love I mean, those visions speak to me. I mean, I was told years ago that I have psychic abilities, and I think we all can tap into that.
Mhm.
Numerology is big and vision.
Yeah.
So what those visions were starting to scare me. But I remember when I had shared with a friend, I forget who, but they were like, maybe this is you separating from your old self. But when you say first life, second life, I can 1,000% resonate with that because and it's even sometimes I look back, I'm like, some stuff is cringeworthy, but I had to go through that to get to where I am today. So, I love that. I love that for you. And it's funny too, because when I meet with people and coach them as well, when they tell me they're lost and stuck, I'm like, this is such an exciting place to be. Because from we have to vastly disconnect before a rebirth.
Mm. It's so funny. I have so there's two books that I'm working on. And one is The False Prophet, Where
Hmm.
Success Lies. And I love playing with words. And the other one that's really dear to my heart is Disassemblies Required.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. It is that whole part of we're
Yeah.
always thinking we need to build and build and build, right?
Yeah.
We talk in business, sports, whatever it may be, everyone's desire to scale. Scale means growth, yes. However, the way you grow is you remove limitations.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
remove things that limit you. It's disassembly. It's not
Hmm.
assembly. It's not
Yeah, and then
adding.
you get to pick and choose how you build that new
Oh,
foundation, right?
right.
And it's not, I find too, because as high achievers, like you feel like the conversation, oh, I always have to learn the hard way, or how am I experiencing this again, right? Or it's those daily habits and rituals that have become so ingrained in you that you don't even see the self-sabotage, you don't even see the disconnection until a traumatic event, anxiety, depression, myself,
Yep.
breast cancer, or
Yep.
something
Yep.
forces you to, and I call it my season of silence, which I went into after breast cancer. I literally took myself out of group chats. Like I could not even, I had no
Yep.
bandwidth for the outside world. I literally had to go in, and I am so grateful that I did. It's
Yeah.
like that dark room, you know, when with photographs, and
There's
I
so
had to
much
go into
wisdom.
my, yeah, I feel like I had lots of achievement, but then I had a real big season of darkness, and then I went through the season of silence, and then it's like, oh wow, here's authentic Janine ready. And that's why the world is giving me the opportunities that it is because of my state of flow and alignment now. Whereas as much as I wanted it before, my ego wanted it and the achiever wanted it, I wasn't ready for it.
You're not.
And it's beautiful to go through these experiences, especially as someone who helps and to others navigate that, because I mean, I don't need a textbook to learn this stuff. Sometimes it'll people like I get hired by people and they're like, we love you more than
Mm.
you've gone through it, right? Divorce, bankruptcy, breast cancer, that's going to teach
Yeah.
you some stuff. And your experience, my goodness. I can only imagine based on because I've met you in person and you walk in and you have a massive energy, and you glow, you've got a bright smile and you can feel your energy. I feel like we're very similar.
We are.
Um, and we both have that killer instinct inside in a good way. Like I know I don't want to I mean, I don't want that killer instinct to be dormant because it's allowed me to achieve such success. So for athletes that are watching this, that are having trouble bridging the gap, for
Mm.
you, how did you go from where you are to where you wanted to be? What type of space did you create for yourself?
It's so I created lots of space. And there's different pieces and parts that we have to have as human beings, right? And even the whole find the calm. And it is that whole part of accepting and understanding who we are. So when I went through that first life, second life, and understanding my underground meaning of who I am, and I've always had these daydreams too of being on the stage. Like when I speak, I'm a good speaker. I'm a
Yeah.
really good speaker.
Yep.
And I captivate the room and people cry or resonate or things like that. And it's very interesting too, because when you look at also the stages that you also go on when nobody resonates, and then you look at the room,
I've had a few of those, but that was due to
right?
lack of preparation
Right.
and lack of
Or
personal growth. And
yeah,
then I was
yeah,
like,
or
I
the
never
wrong
want to feel,
people,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
The wrong stage, right?
Yeah.
Because we're so desperate. We know our message is important. And
Yeah.
that old part of, okay, you need to hear this. Well, maybe you're not ready.
Uh-huh.
And that's that most important thing of when someone, when an athlete or anybody, athlete, business owner, I don't care who you are, when
Yeah.
you
High
are looking
achiever.
for high achiever, looking for change and growth, find someone that will meet you where you're at
Uh-huh.
and take that time to understand where you are. It's even that whole part of hire slow, fire fast, right? So when you are looking for help and guidance and finding someone to do that for you or help you with this, because no one is self-made,
No.
no one, right? So it's dealing with that whole part of, okay, what trauma have you gone through? Because there are traits and key points of what determines a high achiever, right? And so one of those points of determining a high achiever is really to be able to get them to stop and pause. And the biggest trait is they've gone through some type of trauma.
Yeah. And we talk a lot of the athletes that I speak to, it's usually due to injury, retirement, or some unforeseen circumstance that has
Yeah.
forced them to hang up the jersey, right?
Yeah. Right.
So it's not,
Yeah.
you definitely have athletes that transition, but they move on into either they're anchoring or they're still remain in their sport some way. So really they don't get hit until some life or traumatic event happens later.
Yeah.
But it's those abrupt breaks from your identity shift
Yeah.
that really I find cause the biggest
Yeah.
season of confusion. Who am I? What am I
Yeah.
supposed to do now? I've
Yeah.
done this
Yeah.
for 40 years. Now I've got to recalibrate. And I like how the disassembly. Yeah, for sure.
No, it's huge. It's really, really big. And so the part of me putting just the gather of the find the eye, find the calm. And it's that whole part of even you identifying with a tiger or seeing these symbols, these idols. And it's right in anything from history. There's relics, there's omens, there's all of these things that people resonate with and
Yeah.
identify with, right? So they're called archetypes in psychology,
Yeah.
right? And so as a human being, we have to go through these developmental phases of poet, soldier, sage, and king. And soldiers, that part that most athletes and high achievers are missing because soldier is structure.
Oh yeah, structure is huge. We talk about this all the time. It's
Right?
true. Even with the athletes I coach, it's like, okay, you have no structure in your life. That's why you're floating. You
Yeah.
don't know where, you don't know. I mean,
You
we were
don't know
told,
where.
here's your chicken parm.
Yeah.
Show
Yeah.
up at the rink, play the game, get
Yeah.
on the bus at this time. Okay,
Yeah.
your skates are sharp and just drop them off.
Yeah.
They'll sharpen them for you.
Yeah.
You need your sticks
Yeah.
done, put them over here.
Yeah.
Everything's done for you, right?
Everything's done for you, right? So it's that whole part of I had to go find structure. And
Yeah.
I understand. So I dove really deep into, it's called Jungian, like in psychology with Carl Jung. And you're really looking at it and these identifiable arcs in life, in the world that show up everywhere. And I'm going, that's the exact same process when it comes to athletics, when it comes to being a business owner, into entrepreneur or entrepreneur, right? When you're that high achiever, and that's where the calm. So the calm stands for create, align, lead, and master. That's what
Mm,
calm is. And so you have to go through that whole process in the beginning of being create, living in that wonderment, the poet, right?
yeah.
Living in wonderment, living in creativity, getting to actually daydream. It's never the what would you tell your younger self? That's bullshit. It's what would your younger self say to you today? That's the question you need to ask because we forget about that joy. We forget about that wonderment. We forget about that freedom before the world and the noise got their hands on us,
Yeah. And then
right?
we try, well, they talk about as I listen to a psychology podcast and how we abandon our authenticity every time for attachment because we need to. We need it to survive, right?
Yeah.
But what I've learned in my journey is so we're after attachment. That's number one, obviously, to make us feel safe. And then we go into achievement mode to get that external validation. And then there's adversity, and then we access authenticity.
Yeah.
And when I go through that, I mean, you see it on everyone. You see it through everyone that I speak to has gone on some journey like that. It's
Oh,
that need for, and when we're in that authentic space, look at the magic that's created, right? When we get that
oh,
freedom, we don't care what other people think or that journey to the other side. So without, I find when meeting athletes with where they're at, and if people are watching this, and obviously they're struggling in silence, they haven't spoken to them. What would be your top one, two, or three things that you'd say if you do anything, start here to just get them moving in the right direction so that they can start to reclaim who they are, reconnect with their deeper part of themselves, and start moving in a direction that they're actually excited and passionate about, and it's their true gift to the world, their zone of genius.
yeah. Trauma forms transformation to what face it holds. That is up to us. And that
Hmm.
is really interesting in your decision away. So my top three things, number one would go get a therapist. Friends are therapy, not a therapist.
I like that.
So we go to try to talk to our friends
And
about
some of
it.
them don't tell you the right stuff. So then you,
No, they don't. They don't understand, right? Or
no.
they're whatever it may be. So it's not your friends, it's not your family. You need to go get a professional opinion. Someone who is licensed, regulated. Don't get a life coach. Don't get the wooey stuff. The
Yeah.
real stuff,
Yeah.
right? Real stuff. The other part is, and you said it too, you have to go get quiet.
Mm,
There is so much wisdom. So my podcast that you'll be on later on, it's Wisdom in the Whispers, right? You have such incredible growth when again, that silence and that peace.
yeah.
And that last part that I tell every athlete that I coach, and I love coaching athletes because it's that whole part of everything you learned to get you to the height of your game, right? Is everything that is transferable into life. It's
Absolutely.
exactly what you need. You have to look at it from a different perspective. And that's where coaches like myself or you, when you can just help them draw that parallel and understand. It's a meditation. Some guys are like, I don't want to meditate. That's weird. I don't understand it. Guess what you did, buddy? When you're sitting in the change room, just before you go out and step on the ice,
Yeah.
you're slowing your breathing down.
Hmm.
You are thinking, you are visioning. That is meditation, my friend.
Yeah.
Right?
We do it all the time with the things that we're passionate about. I think about my little girl, man, if she could turn into a horse, I think she would.
Yeah.
But I mean, every conversation thought is somehow turned around back to horses. Like
Yeah.
she's,
Yeah.
but I love that. So number one is find a therapist, get a professional so that you can get, obviously you want to start on the right foot and get the proper information that you need. Number two, get quiet. And number three, meditate. Did you say
Yeah,
meditate?
it's
Or
meditate. It's just understanding and drawing that parallels because that's what you do. That's part of your
yeah,
identity. Because we think after that jersey comes off, like it's been 10 years since I've competed, Janine.
yeah.
and I just hung my paddle up in my
Oh,
office.
yay.
That is autographed from my whole entire old crew, right?
Love it.
I just went and grabbed and opened up my box of all my old jerseys from across the world that I've exchanged
You
and
know
all
what?
that.
I really think that's a part of the process because for the longest time, like my decade of like divorce, bankruptcy, breast cancer,
Mhm.
everyone would be like, "Why don't you coach? Why aren't you
Yeah.
skating?" And I was like, I didn't even have my love for the game was gone.
Yep.
And again, it took that rebirth after cancer. And, I aligned with meditation and walking became my alliances. And
Yep.
I journaled and wrote and wrote and wrote. And when I followed those nudges, you call them whispers. I say, the nudges, that's what led me
Mhm.
to a TED talk. That's
Yep.
what led me to my speaking certification and the larger stages that I'm now being asked to
Mhm.
speak on. But it's such a beautiful space. And now I'm like very proud of my sports history, where for the longest time, I didn't
Uh-huh.
talk about it. I didn't talk
Oh,
about it at all. And these
even
conversations brought that love back as well. Like, it's
it, it,
crazy how we do that.
it's so it's again it's this weird shame that happens, right? Because you're not that anymore. And I remember, so I train on an outrigger, so a one-man boat, so the boats you see in Hawaii, and those suckers are fast, they're light, they're expensive, they're all carbon fiber, so it's a whole boat made of carbon fiber, so you can imagine how much that
Super
sucker
light.
is. Super light, right? And so I live right on the shores of Lake Ontario, or Lake Huron, and beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous water. And last year I finally took my boat out, right? And I
How did
finally
you feel?
and it was the weirdest, most incredible, gorgeous thing ever. So I used to race with a bobblehead Jesus, which is the
Okay.
weirdest, funny thing. So I would put this bobblehead Jesus on the boat
Whatever
somewhere,
works. As long
whatever
as you
works,
win.
right? And so everyone, I remember once getting asked of, why do you have a bobblehead Jesus? And I said, well, Jesus walked on water, and so do I.
Oh, I love
Right.
that.
So it's that whole part of the symbolism. So I, went and rigged my boat, put it up, carried it to the water, jumped on, and it was glass. Like, it was early in the morning and it was glass.
Love
And
it.
I've got my bobblehead Jesus, and I'm out paddling the shoreline. And again, it's that whole part of the world just all came back. And I'm like, there she is, right? I went through all this, and my gift is to come back to the sport I once deserved to be part of again,
Yeah, I
because I
love that.
didn't deserve it in that moment, because I had all that growth to be. And I remember paddling, and there's these two older women up on a sup, and they're paddling away and doing all these things. And of course, I look at how their blades are going in the water, and I'm coaching them in my head, and all these things. And I was not even thinking, I just blew by them, like blew
Yeah.
right by them. And then I came back and I passed them again. And, these ladies are, what's kind of boat is that? And I said, it's an outrigger. And she said, like in the Hawaii? And I said, yep, like in the Hawaii. And she goes, you're fast. You must have been really good at one time. And I said, no, honey, I still am good.
It's funny we're talking and I'm getting emotional.
Yeah.
Um, It's because I think of every athlete that could be struggling, and we lost some friends that were found deceased in their home. Ooh. And as you're describing that, the first time I went and skated, and it's really cute, my dad bought me a pair of skates. He's like, I bought you your first pair, I'll buy you your last. I think they were just so excited that I was going back after
Yeah.
breast cancer. I sat in the bathtub and I shook and I cried,
Yeah.
like sobbed. My head said go, but my body said no. I was half a quarter of the player that I
Yeah.
used to be, just because after 6 surgeries through breast cancer. But
Yeah.
it wasn't a feeling sorry for me cry. It was a gratitude and like a release of. And so I always, as you were describing getting back on the water, I was thinking about, like, if you're a basketball player, just go
Oh,
hold a basketball.
yeah.
Like, if
Go
you're a
smell it.
golfer,
It
go,
sounds so
yes,
weird. Just
get your
smell it.
club and just put it in your hands. If you're a baseball player, return to that joy love like state where you were curious as a child and everything was possible. And as you said, the noise of the world will change us and try to form us into who we should be. And eventually, when you pop, and you can only take so much.
Yep.
My wish for everyone watching this, athlete or not, is that you do the work to reconnect with yourself, disassemble, as Kim says, and then go to work on that. Yeah, big work. I love it. I call it heart work, but I think
Yeah.
that term might have been stolen by someone else. I think I saw online, but I refer to it as heart work. Very
Yeah.
soul, and I can feel the passion from you when you share. So I'm so grateful for your vulnerability and all the nuggets that you've shared. You've definitely connected with my heart. I feel great even just speaking to you. We're so similar. But
Mm.
was that a backhanded compliment to myself?
No, I love it. I would
We're
be,
so similar.
it's the hardest
Thanks,
thing,
Kim. You're
especially,
amazing. I
you're
feel great
awesome.
about
Two, four,
myself
six,
now.
eight, right? But
No,
it's
I
so
know.
hard. High achieving women, it's very hard. It's extremely hard to find other women
Mm,
to resonate with. And I think
Yeah.
out of all this transition and things I've gone through, it's different with guys. It truly is, and that's okay, right? Men lead in everything, in sports, in business, with efficiencies. Women lead with community and collaboration.
Hmm.
So when we are
Yeah,
high achieving women, our masculine, we relate very highly with our masculine energy.
for sure.
And it's that
When you
really,
walk in a room, would you go to the crowd of boys versus
oh,
girls?
dudes all the time, dudes all the time, right?
Me
All the
too.
time, right? And it's because I can speak their language and I
Yeah.
understand and I can connect the dots, right? I know when to be funny. I've got the really good jokes.
Yeah.
I've got all the
Yeah.
stories, right?
It's
And
funny. I think I've like some friend groups, when I first was meeting them, they were like, why doesn't she want to hang out with us? I'm comfortable with the guys. I really am. I just
it's the way it
naturally
is, right?
gravitate. Yeah.
I was on a mixed crew, right? I was on a mixed
Yeah.
crew. It's 8 women, 12 guys, right?
Yeah.
I was on the premiere is the best of the best, and there was one of the women on it, right?
Yeah.
It's so interesting to see, but it's that whole entire part of my biggest struggle through that whole transition and that part of the people that have hurt me the most have been women. And it's really hard when you see this boss babe or empowerment or whatever it may be. And I still have some work to do there
Yeah.
because I have some anger because I know I'm different. I know I'm extremely smart and I'm extremely strong.
Mm.
And my brain works so quickly, right?
Yes.
And I know I intimidate a lot of women. I
Yep.
don't intimidate that very many,
I've been told, that my husband told me that
right?
once. He's like, someone at the studio said you were intimidating. I was like, I'm like the nicest
Yeah,
person
I
ever. How
know.
am I
Yeah.
intimidating?
I'm
But
like, come to
I
my
wasn't aware.
cottage,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Come to my cottage. I'll feed you a whole entire time. We'll tell jokes. There's wine, there's food. I
I
love
know.
you just because I'm
It's the big
confident,
energy, the
right?
learning. And I remember even like my freshman year at university, I remember going from like first line to fourth line. And I remember going into the coach's office and being like, why
Yeah.
I'm doing so well. Why did you change me? And she's like, you're too fast. You're messing up your teammates. You
Yeah.
got to learn to control your speed. And I was like, and now even just saying that, learning to control my energy is a big one,
Yeah.
because I can be dominant. I can be
Yeah.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
And learning how to use that to my advantage, not to manipulate, but to not scare off and to
Yeah.
connect with those that I really want to connect with. So
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
interesting. I love it. I feel like we could talk forever.
I
Um,
know. Oh my
but with
gosh.
the sake of time, yes.
Wow.
And as
Yeah.
I was on this other podcast and they go, it's time to land the plane. I was like, oh, I like that. So time to land the plane. Any last words for any athletes or high achievers or anyone human? We all beat, our heartbeats. So any last words before we shut her down? And thank you for everything that you've
Mhm.
shared with us so
No,
far.
I love the world needs more of us out there sharing these conversations and bringing them out and sharing it with the world, right? It truly is. So I admire you what you're doing. I'm keeping you forever. So by the way,
Perfect. I want to be
yay,
fed at your cottage.
right? It's that whole entire part, and I think I'll leave you with one of the biggest things that one of my Team Canada coaches said to me. And it was me going to him saying, I want to look like you, I want to paddle like you, I want to be you. Like, just teach me how to be you. And it's on my website and I'll never forget it. And when he said to me and looked at me dead in the eye and he just said, if I was to make you a mirror image of me, would I have helped you or would I harm you?
Mm,
And I think that's the biggest thing that all of us need to remember
yeah,
is
we're not
go
the
be
same.
your magnificent self. There's all
Yeah,
these wonderful things, and there's only one you. Be mindful of the environments, be mindful who you are, and just go be your unique whatever the heck you are. And
I
that's
love it.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And instead of focusing on achievements, just focus on the work ethic that you're putting in terms of
Yeah.
how you're showing up for yourself and
Yeah.
how you're
Yeah. Yeah.
not muscling your way through. I mean,
Yeah.
leaning into emotions, leaning
Yeah.
into
Leading
that.
into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Well, amazing chat.
Yeah.
Episode 49. I can't believe it. We've got Kimberly. Skermer. Did I say it right? Because
Yes.
I'm
You
terrible
almost
with
said
names.
schemer.
I know.
Yeah.
It's such a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for
Mhm.
contributing to this conversation that is near and dear to my heart. I know this conversation is going to help many people. So, truly, 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 thank you.
Oh, thank you. And if anybody needs someone to reach out to me. I'm up for a talk. Here for
I
you.
love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Thank you. You heard it here. Episode 49, transitioning to life after sports.